Greetings. Greetings. This is part 1 of 2, which will all be compiled into a single video for your enjoyment and entertainment. My name is Jay Feather, and I am the owner of the coffee shop. So welcome right on in. Welcome to the Periodic Coffee Shop. Let's get you a coffee. Today's brew is a special one, mostly because nobody knows what the hell it is. It is very strong, so be warned. Oh, right, before I forget, it's also only served cold. Still interested? Good. Let me get that for you. Alright, here you go. One Ullr brew. Oh, right, we don't do payment here. At this establishment, you don't pay with cash. Instead, you gotta hear the story, or just generally who the brew is named after. Oh, yeah. Do we have a deal? I see we do. Wonderful. Then may I entertain your mind with the guise of a semi-unknown god, Ullr. Ullr is an old Icelandic, Norse, and Swedish god, whose following was abandoned before the Viking era during the Paleolithic period. Ullr is the son of Sif, and by that line the stepson of Sif's husband, Thor. Ullr is the god associated with hunting, skiing, skating, and archery. Ullr loves the cold, so that's why this brew is a cold one, to pay homage to him, his tastes, and him. And before we get to the argument of Ullr versus Scotty, they both are attributed to the hunt. No need for argument. They work over different domains. Ullr works over the winter, Scotty works over the summer. Ullr does have a domain in Asgard, being Yadri, also known as the Valley of Rain. The valley is full to the brim of few trees, which is the best wood for bow making. There is also text of Ullr being a sun god and having a hand in justice and law. However, these sources are, well, they vary. They're not unreliable, but they are, depending on what religion we want to tackle here, it could completely change. So for now, we'll just keep it straight and simple. Being a god, also on top of this, we're being a god of almost 13 different places named after him. You would think the information to be a little more concrete. It is what it is, though. The earliest mentions of Ullr that we got so far is that largely based around discussions of the characteristics attributed to the god of the prose and poetic Edda. Later literature has made greater use of comparative elements of research, attempting to establish a connection between Ullr and other mythological figures. For both Nordic and other religions where characteristics have been mentioned. That's where that sun god and law and order came into play. At the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century, place name studies came to increasingly dominate research on the god. Of particular importance was the period between 1900s and 1930s, which numerous new theories on place names were presented for Ullr. Among other things, scholars were able to establish that Ullr belonged to one of the oldest strata of theoretic place names in Scandinavia. The god potentially may have been worshipped in conjunction with an unknown female deity. That might have been a setup for Scotty, but at this point we do not know. I imagine some more information might be uncovered eventually. I sure hope there is. On top of this, Jacob Grimm. Great name. Probably a great man. Jacob Grimm only spoke briefly on the role of Ullr in Nordic mythology. Most prominently in his Dutch mythology. I still probably butchered that, where he argued that the Misperb inscription bore witness to the now well-established notion of the identical nature of the two beings, Full and Baldur. Grimm suggested that if the two, Full and Baldur, were not identical, however, the Full and Baldur in the inscription is to be interpreted as V or W, in which case Wull could be accounted to the Old Norse Ullr. Which, according to Grimm, that was probably related to Old High German Wulla, which would create this alternative wording, Wull ended Wodan, Ull and Odin. To this charm, to Grimm's mind, this alteration was unproblematic from a mythological perspective, such as he stressed. Viggen and Skad have referred to the Baldur as a relative of the god Ull. Ull was also described as having a bone inscribed in magical runes. When these runes were spoken aloud, the bone could transform into snowshoes, skis, swords, shields, and ships. Very handy for a far-reach hunter.